Virtual National Conference on Artificial Intelligence, Current Trends and Application. I welcome all the participants as well as the keynote speaker. I am very much delighted to introduce Prashanth Pollishetty. He is a co-founder and CEO of OrbitShifters in USA. Prashanth comes with extensive experience in the analytical space, nearly 2 decades. He worked in Fortune 10 companies and enabled them in increased revenues and efficiency by deploying practical artificial intelligence and ML models. He was worked with Dell, TCS, Wells Fargo, and most recently with United Health Group, a leading healthcare organization in the world. Prashanth is willing to deliver keynotes in IVY League institutions and delivered thought-provoking experiences. Prashanth holds masters from Carlson School of Business and masters from Minnesota School of Business. We are very fortunate to have you for this artificial intelligence, especially for the virtual conference. I'm very thankful to you for accepting our invitation and to be part of this conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's a great honor to be here, actually. Good morning to everybody. And thank you so much for inviting me to the first ever virtual national conference that is specifically addressing the artificial intelligence and the current trends. Before I get started on the keynote, I just wanted to take a moment and wanted to address the elephant in the room. I assume everybody's going through the same isolation phase, but what I would really request is please play your part of being isolated and take this as a real issue. This cannot be undermined at all. For the first time in the entire universe, if a human has scared of anything, it is coronavirus as of today. So we cannot undermine that issue. Please maintain your distance. Please follow all the safety precautions and take this as a serious thing. So I wanted to make sure we address that elephant in the room so that we can focus on how AI is making those trends and how we can prepare or we can make AI helpful for us to avoid another coronavirus in future, or at least in the current scenario. Give me 1 second. I'll go ahead and share my screen now. So today I will be speaking a lot about AI and IOMT in healthcare. And before that, I just wanted to take a second as well, also mention about our OrbitShifters as a company. Our company has delivered a lot of FDP sessions in the last few months, especially recently in Tirupathi. We gave about 6 days of AI FDP program in conjunction with Tara AI as well. And we also delivered training for 256 students, which includes of 22 departments from the esteemed organization that we all gathered here. It's a great honor as usual, but then I have amazing dignitaries, and one of my biggest mentors is also on the call, Mr. Dr. Padmavathi Garu. So it is basically a nervous moment for me to speak in front of dignitaries like that. But I would like to shed some light on what I have learned about AI in healthcare and what I've learned about the Internet of Medical things in healthcare. So I'm just going to present this in the presentation. The first thing I want to focus on is about Ayush. A lot of people forgotten over the decades about what Ayush really is. Ayush is a combination of Ayurveda, Yoga, Unani, Siddha, and Homeopathy. These dates back to about 3 BC. That's roughly about 1973 years ago. And these were started really during our Indus Valley civilization era. And we are the main, the land of where we come from. That's where it's all started. And now we are still finding the solutions and the answers for all the unsolved mysteries and diseases in the world in India itself. And that's why we are called as Medical Mother of India. What we are going to specifically focus on is the healthcare market segments. There are 5 specific market segments that are currently trending. One is the hospitals, where the service and care is provided, whether it is private or public, in terms of healthcare centers, hospitals, general hospitals, private hospitals. The second biggest market that is trending currently in the healthcare segment is the pharmaceutical industry, which is about manufacturing, extraction, processing, purification, you name it. Everything that is related to pharmaceutical manufacturing as well as sales and marketing as well has a lot of AI infused into it. The another big thing that is really making everybody, it's really giving a lot of hope in AI is the diagnostics. How can we avoid the situation? And the fourth one is the medical equipment and supply phase. And the fifth one is the medical insurance phase. Once we identify all those things in these industry parameters, we will be showing you some new age examples and how the use cases and how the world is evolving to address some major complicated issues through AI in healthcare. Um, so one of the biggest things that we as humans have developed is we added AI, we added machine, and that is basically we were able to develop that machine learning kind of thing. So if you look at the man side, the input here is providing the quality experience outcomes, the safety of ways to ensure patient safety, efficiency in terms of usability and productivity, and also the easy access to care. And if you use these inputs, improving effective inputs into put into a machine, and if you look at all the outputs from AI powered automation, what we can do in terms of automation wise, we can deliver quality through machine learning, supervised learning, reinforcement learning, and then we can look at the safety wise, efficiency wise, and productivity wise. We can look at medical robotics, rehabilitation robotics, smart pills, surgical robots, and a lot of AI voice technology also going. So combined to all these things, if you look at it, AI plus medical data basically is providing us smart screening solutions. AI is literally disrupting in healthcare. Have we gone to an extent where we can confidently say we have done it? I would say we just started scratching the surface. I think the biggest thing that we are trying to do is the easy options. I think the future would be all about avoiding the situation. How are we going to transform the entire climate change? How are we going to better our lives with better living options? So healthcare is when you get sick, but what we want to do is AI to not even have this scenario that where we have to face it. If you look at one of the examples in AI, a company in a hospital called Arvind Hospitals, where screening has been done using AI patterns and everything infused into a machine. And it can detect up to 50 anomalies and help in easily identifying the cataract and also performing cataract surgeries. If you look at an 18-year-old Abu Qadir, he's the first one, and he's from University of Chicago, and he invested all his time and life and sweat to make sure that he contributes to the society because of his personal experience. He was able to come up with patterns because he did not focus on the accuracy. He wanted to focus on the sensitivity and the emotional aspect of the machine learning and everything, and helped a lot in the cancer research. If you look at robotic surgery, in US, robotic surgery is quite oftenly used on a lot of things, especially hernia surgeries, cataract surgeries, laser eye surgeries. But in India, it has come down to a real-time execution of adopting this machinery for performing basic surgeries for right now. But in future, there is a very huge scope of enhancing those robotics surgeries as well. One of the biggest concept that a lot of people are not aware is Google is not just a search engine. Have you all ever heard about Google to invest money in identifying when we will all die? So Google, one of the blue chip programs Google has really invested is how can we solve the death? So they came up with a project called Save Death, and it has 3 phases. We are currently in the phase 1 execution. The first one is to identify the driving factors of human nature. What are the driving things that are really making our human life possible? And the phase 2 is basically how do we arrest aging? And then phase 3 is how to reverse aging. And Google has already achieved the first milestone, which is understanding the driving factors, the human DNA and genomics to everything to anything. Currently, they are experimenting on few selected humans and I believe some animals as well. They're providing them about 144 herbal herbs as well as smart capsules and closely monitoring if they can understand and basically break the code of DNA. It's very interesting because we all thought Google just is a Google search engine, but they have some very interesting blue chip programs that happens in Google. If you look at the baby monitor as well, in the past, if we ever had, a baby, whenever we saw any baby in an incubator, we were always, scared and stuff. Now we have reverse engineering being done at a IoT level. Now, if you look at GE, they did a reverse innovation from India on an ECG machine that closely monitors ECG for any person in general. Another one is a Hyderabad-based healthcare startup, which is Smart Connected Baby Detects Apnea, Respiratory, and Hypothermia conditions. In India, we haven't seen a lot of cases, but in US, 1 in 10 babies are born with prematurity. Basically, babies are born at 28, 29, 30 weeks. And in order for them to complete their entire gestational period, they are put on heavy equipment. And one of the things that this tool solves is it's a smart connected apnea respiratory machine versus wired stuff, which scares the parents as well. Another big company is making strides in cancer world, which is Nirmai. It's a Bangalore-based startup, and one of the biggest thing they have done is they used how to use thermal energy and how to use AI and machine learning. How do we identify breast cancer in a world like India, where screening such things are not widely well known or educated or provided. Nobody tells you to go and have a breast cancer assessment. But Nirmai came up with, captured that aspect of the privacy as well as the sentimental value, and started putting their efforts into a hardware component of it, and was able to accurately identify the cancer screening for women in general. And they recently got funded from Google as well, and they're already started getting into understanding the FDA approvals and also into manufacturing further devices. Another big thing is Swatsya Slate. This guy is a doctor, and he spent a lot of time in research in Mayo Clinic. Mayo Clinic is second biggest hospital or second best hospital in the entire world. He basically said bye to all his research and development in US and came back to Mother India and came up with an idea where how can we identify a tablet where we can identify multiple diseases at the same time, or multiple aspects or multiple data points of a human in a single slate kind of thing. And if you look at it, he was able to develop a health tablet which can identify 33 different tests in one single go. And the return time of the test is about 2 minutes. You cannot get 2 minutes, 33 test results. And typically you would spend about roughly 2.5 months to complete these tests in US based on the appointments available and everything. If it is a critical scenario for these kind of tests, it really takes about 2 to 3 months. But he solved it once for all, 33 different tests at the same time. AI is now also helping identifying skin cancer. There is a Netherlands-based skin cancer app which uses computer vision to analyze skin and anomalies, and they recently received about $3.5 million corporate minority round in 2015, and it was from a dermatology company called Leo Pharma, and they are also starting to focus on how do we identify skin cancer. We never heard about skin cancer in Southeast Asia, but skin cancer is 33% of cancer cases in US are from skin itself. Because of their pale skin and the melanin factors in them, and huge exposure to the UV rays in US causes a lot of cancer. And this company is trying to address that situation as well. Another big company is BTBP, which is identifying skin analytics through AI. It identifies pigmentation, wrinkles, tone, under eye dark clouds, redness, acne, skin color, lip detection, and enlarged pores. Typically, it takes a very experienced dermatologist to identify any kind of problems on face, but this does completely computer vision and identifies all the skin analytics that are used to diagnose and enhance beauty. If you look at AI in another world, in another trend is the drug discovery. Atomwise Partners are a very notable laboratory company, and it uses advanced machine learning algorithms for drug discovery and development. It uses all the historical data that has already been collected over the decades, and it tries to identify and cut down the time by 50%. And they recently got funding about $6 million. And then if you look at the notable labs, which recently provides FDA-approved treatment recommendations based on the tumor, they also secured about $4.5 million. Another example is text-based medical chatbot. We only thought about robotics, we thought about drug discovery, but how do we also avoid a visit to a hospital? How do we avoid a visit to a clinic? How do we even ease if we have a panic attack? So the world is evolving so fast. They're trying to arrest the problem before even it arrives. So they came up with a text-based medical chatbot where you can see the symptoms by literally texting basic responses and see a doctor if it needed. And then your prescription is being sent to the pharmacy, or if it requires a referral to a different doctor, they'll refer it online itself. You don't have to go outside to get something diagnosed. So the comfort level of the apps that are developed by using artificial intelligence is easing a lot of traffic to hospitals, especially when you look at, it would be really difficult to go and see a doctor right now because you'd never know who's there. So yeah, they're also thinking about how do we completely do this in a telepathy way. Another big thing is KMCH. They recently launched India's first ever pinpoint accuracy and precision through automation in cancer treatment. This is the first company which does everything automation. All you have to do is insert the inputs of the cancer details, and the entire treatment is done completely automated, including the chemotherapy, the identification of the cancer, if it requires surgery, and everything is done completely automation. And it is also FDA approved. Another big news that is happening in India is Manipal hospitals, which adopted Watson for oncology to help physicians identify options for individualized evidence-based cancer across India. In the past, if you need to identify or if you need to go for a reference, typically people would spend months, maybe years sometimes, to understand and research a particular problem. But IBM's Watson has basically cut down everybody's time, at least by 90% in terms of research, by providing them quick access to all the historical data that can be, that would help identify options for each individual in general. Fighting COVID-19 with artificial intelligence. Can AI really resolve coronavirus? Can AI find a solution for coronavirus? I'm hopeful, but to begin with, CURIE is another well-known company in India, and now they came up with an intelligent partner that helps emergency medical dispatchers making life-saving decisions. So they partner with most of the hospitals right now. What it does is it basically provides your vital, we call them vitals, basically your blood pressure and those things when you are in emergency or in your ambulance without have to wait until all those tests come back or basic details are provided. So now they're helping, they're partnering with all the hospitals who are treating COVID-19 as well. So we made our first step by assisting, and I hope AI is going to be revolutionizing, and AI will find something for bringing out of us from this crazy situation. Another big one is have your own nurse. That's another big thing that is happening in US and other Western countries is virtual nurses. Molly is her name. It is currently in implementation. Molly is your virtual nurse where you can talk, share, and discuss about your medication and medical condition as well. And basically in order to fill the gap of nurses in US, this is another emerging trend that is happening in US. Pandorum is another amazing company established and started in Bangalore. And they are using AI into a completely different spectrum or dimension of healthcare. They are the first technology company that developed first artificial liver tissue using 3D printing. We heard about 3D printing in retail by printing products, plastic products, but we never heard about a 3D printer that can also print liver tissues. Eventually, their idea is to come up with other organs, but right now the artificial liver tissue performs critical function for a human liver, including metabolism, secretory of biochemicals such as cholesterol and other detoxifications. These are also another big emerging trend, and I believe in future you can see prosthetics being completely printed by 3D printers, and skin surgeries, and a lot of parts that we use, I would not say parts, sorry, organs or vitals that we use in surgeries can be printed through companies like this. The other aspect of the entire healthcare is IoMT. We heard about IoT, which is Internet of Things, and now we are in a evolution of AI in healthcare, where we have Internet of Medical Things, which is connected devices. We'll spend some time on that to understand what other aspects are happening across the world. So IoMT basically falls into two categories: clinical and non-clinical. Under clinical, if you think, what are the data points that it can gather? So for example, wearables. And the other aspect of clinical is the implants. Again, one of the interesting trend here is 2 out of 10 60-year-olds in US has an implant in them, whether it is cataract eye to a hip replacement or an elbow replacement. So it's 2 out of 10 above 60 in US as one of the two things: implants or wearables. And on the non-clinical side, IoMT is helping in terms of equipment, location-based trackers, sensors for legacy devices. In the past, if you were hospitalized, if you had a pain, you had to literally either call your mother or somebody who's next to you to call for a doctor for help. Now we have a click of a button, you have a doctor coming to see you. So the comfort level on non-clinical side with IoMT is also helping and saving a lot of lives.
Hello?
The world has emerged into a different kind of thing. The Internet of Medical Things. It's a new word for a lot of folks, but it's a very big market in US. If you look at it, in 1990, we had first connecting devices, and then we had first connecting medical devices in the early 2000s, and then the IoT inception with smartphones and tablets democratization. And if you look at in the last 10 years, we are in a massive scale. The IoT devices, IoMT devices have gone into a massive scale. From 45 million devices, we are looking towards 235 million devices. That's roughly about 20% of the entire population. And we are also looking at 20 billion devices going to be used in terms of care to clinical to commercial healthcare aspects as well. So the world is transforming. The devices will be used more, and the data points will be collected more. And I'm hoping that AI is going to break the chain of life cycle and human healthcare management in general. This again is the other use cases of AI and IoMT. If you look at it, we have care delivery, customer experience, and operation excellence. Like we discussed earlier, it's not just the diagnosis, the robotic surgeries, but it is also trying to solve the human effort, which is the care, the service that is provided. One thing AI does not solve is replacement for a doctor forever. It does take a particular eye, and with those doctors' help is what we were able to come up with this, adopt these technologies and take it to the next level. The another interesting aspect of AI in healthcare is built versus buy. What are those? Let's take a look at a couple of examples. If you look at medical diagnosis, traditionally, medical diagnosis was a challenging process. many symptoms are non-specific. Nowadays, average symptoms are 8 to 10. Even if you look at COVID-19, right now the symptom count is 9. Earlier it was just sneezing, headache, body aches. Now people are saying taste, people are saying smell, people are saying cough. So the number of symptoms is getting complicated. So, and they are also non-specific. And if you look at the process of elimination was used to determine root cause was also very complex. But with the help of AI, medical diagnosis was challenging process previously and now not anymore. And then the process of elimination was used to determine root cause with AI is also solved 50% of the time frame there. In terms of drug discovery, each new drug approval costs over $1 billion in research and development in the past. Also takes decades, and 9 out of 10 drug approval attempts fail because it's very stringent and very complicated, very time consuming. But with the AI, companies are able to get structured and unstructured data with AI to establish that pipeline for new drug discovery and all the mapping components of the drug components. And then there are about 1,020 possible drug-like molecules that were able to identify with the help of AI. And there is a massive space for potential discoveries in future with all the data that we were able to secure in the last 100 years as humans in general. If you look at build versus buy, again, in terms of surgery, every type of surgery poses possible risk to a patient. Now companies are leveraging computer system and predicting surgical steps with 3D models, and then identifying complications and warning surgeons about pending challenges. In the past, there were adverse effects of anesthesia. Now it is becoming a point where everything is calculated based on AI. The amount of anesthesia required, what should be the count of vitals and everything to anything. And then in general, surgeries are very the nano surgeries are always complicated, but with the help of AI and computer vision, things are getting much more easier for doctors and surgeons. One biggest thing, if you notice the entire presentation, there are 8 different fields, and each different field has each application kind of thing. And what are those that could really change healthcare in the next 15 years? Let's take a look at it. We discussed about robotic assisted surgery. We discussed about virtual nursing assistants. We discussed about IOMT. We also discussed about dosage reduction, which is based on AI and the data that was provided to it. We talked about clinical trial participation. We talked about fraud detection. We also talked about cybersecurity. One of the things that AI can help in cybersecurity is the PI and PII. In India, there is not much emphasis on the PI and PII. PI is personal information, PI is patient health information, PHI is patient health information. And typically, unless there is a signature, it's called as HIPAA policy, and it is mandatory for everybody. Unless you provide your permission, your data won't be shared. And there are very stringent laws, and the reason why companies spend more money on cybersecurity, especially the healthcare companies in US, is because of the infringement of privacy. So now we are adopting cybersecurity as well to secure the data that is provided by people and the population in general. Since we talked about so many aspects and how healthcare is changing in terms of evolution and how AI is playing its role to take it to the next level and emerging like anything, the job sector is also going to improve crazy. A lot of people thought only doctors could survive, but I believe with the help of AI, the magnitude of the profession in healthcare has changed. If you look at it, we now have clinical informatic physicians. We probably never heard half of these job titles itself. Now with the help of all the information we have, how AI opened up a different dimension in healthcare, these will be the new healthcare IT jobs that will be running wild in the next 1 or 2 decades. The other thing is, which technologies will power your business tomorrow? Again, everything is data empowered. AI and cloud and quantum and high performing computing will make once impossible possible. Now companies need to understand technology today to survive and thrive tomorrow. This is from Executive Vice President, Big Data and Security Solution. So AI is the solution for everything in terms of healthcare, and it is definitely the biggest hope the doctors and the humans have found in general. These are the transformational things that are happening currently, 2020 and beyond. If you look at it on the graph here, in 2018, we were doing web scale computing and open source hardware. And if you look at it in the 2019, which was just last year, the growth rate of virtual assistants, the growth rate of modern technologies or exponential technologies adoption has seen a significant growth. And if you look at in the adolescent and emerging trend, we will be looking into quantum computing. We will be looking into neuromorphic computing. We are looking into biocomputer. We'll be looking at invisible computers. We'll be looking at computer memory. So the impact of AI in the next 5 years in the healthcare is monumental. Are we all ready as humans to embrace what AI is going to do healthcare wise? Is what we have to wait and watch. But right now it is already created waves and strides, and healthcare is one space that we have neglected as a planet and universe. And finally, with this kind of viruses, people are now looking in towards hope, where how can we avoid situations like this? And AI is going to definitely do the justice for hope and faith from the from us and dignitaries and knowledgeable experts to researchers to scholars to everybody to anybody. That's all I have today to share. I just wanted to take some time and emphasize on how AI is changing the world in especially in the healthcare sector. And I really wanted to thank everybody who has joined and for this session, and being it the first and sharing my thoughts was really happy. And I wanted to thank Uma Madam Garu. I want to thank Mamta Madam Garu. I want to thank Mahesh, Srinivas Garu, everybody who I did not specifically mention the names, but thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to share our insights. And Mahesh, that's all I have. And I hope everybody stays safe, and wish you all the best.